Breaking confirmation, $2,000 tariff. Rebate, approved breaking news tonight, and this is something you need to hear immediately. Just hours ago, the White House officially confirmed that President Trump has approved the long-discussed $2,000 tariff rebate checks. But what makes this announcement truly significant is not just the dollar amount, it's who is now being prioritized. According to newly confirmed internal updates, a major eligibility shift occurred quietly but decisively. Low-income seniors, a group that was not previously placed in any priority category, have now been added to a brand new list that moves them closer to the front of the payment line. This change did not exist earlier this week, and most Americans still have no idea it happened. If you currently receive Social Security SSI or SSDI, this update directly affects you. For days, rumors about $2,000 payments have circulated across news outlets, social media platforms, and financial communities, but tonight, those rumors turned into confirmation. The revised structure of the tariff rebate program has been approved, and the U.S. Treasury has already issued internal guidance reflecting this change. What's especially surprising is the timing. There was no press conference, no advance warning. The language inside the Treasury update strongly suggests this decision was fast-tracked after a late review of economic data affecting low-income households, and this is only the beginning. Tonight's confirmation signals a much larger shift in how this entire program is being targeted, and seniors are no longer standing at the back of the line. Why this update happened so fast and so quietly? What many people are asking right now is simple. Why did this change happen so suddenly? Why was such a major update approved quietly, without a press conference or public warning? According to internal reporting, this decision had been building behind the scenes for weeks. While the public focused on headlines confirming $2,000 rebate checks, pressure was growing inside the administration to re-examine who was actually being helped by the program. And that pressure intensified after new economic reports landed directly on the president's desk. Those reports showed a troubling trend. Inflation has been hitting older Americans harder than almost any other group. Seniors living on fixed incomes saw their purchasing power shrink month after month, while rent, food, medical costs, and utilities continued to rise. In particular, analysts highlighted a sharp increase in senior poverty among individuals receiving less than roughly $1,300 per month from Social Security. That data became the turning point. Advisors warned that if tariff revenue was being returned to Americans, the most financially vulnerable should not be forced to wait at the back of the line. This triggered an emergency review of the program's structure. Instead of rewriting legislation, the administration chose a faster route. Treasury officials were instructed to revise eligibility scoring internally, allowing priority adjustments without public delays. That's why this update feels sudden. The groundwork was already in motion. Tonight's change wasn't random. It was the result of data, urgency, and mounting concern over how inflation is reshaping life for millions of seniors. How the tariff rebate program really works. To understand why seniors were suddenly moved into a higher priority position, you first need to understand how the tariff rebate program actually works. This is not a traditional stimulus program, and that distinction matters more than most people realize. Unlike past stimulus checks that required congressional approval and deficit spending, the tariff rebate program is funded directly by revenue collected from tariffs on imported goods. In simple terms, when tariffs generate excess revenue, that money can be redistributed without passing a new law. That gives the Treasury far more flexibility in how payments are structured and how eligibility is determined. From the beginning, President Trump's argument was straightforward. If tariffs are bringing in billions of dollars, that money should go back to American households instead of sitting unused. But early versions of the program were built around workforce impact, middle-income families, wage earners, and households directly affected by rising import costs. Seniors were mentioned, but they were not prioritized. That's because the original framework assumed working households had the most exposure to tariff-driven price increases. What changed was the data. Treasury analysts discovered that seniors on fixed incomes experience inflation differently. When prices rise, their income does not adjust at all. This led to a structural rethink. Instead of focusing only on employment and wages, Treasury introduced a broader evaluation model, one that measures vulnerability, purchasing power, and income stability. That shift opened the door for seniors to move forward in the system, and once that door opened, the entire payment structure began to change. The new Treasury scoring system that changed everything. The biggest shift inside the tariff rebate program did not come from a press release or a public announcement. It came from a quiet but powerful change inside the Treasury's internal scoring system, and this is what ultimately moved seniors forward in the payment line. Rather than relying on a single income cutoff, Treasury officials built a multi-factor evaluation model. This system assigns an eligibility score to every household based on several criteria, not just how much money someone earns. Income still matters, but it's no longer the only factor. The model looks closely at income stability, meaning how predictable and fixed your monthly income is. Seniors who rely on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI score extremely high in this category because their payments do not increase when inflation rises. That makes them more vulnerable during periods of rapid price growth. Another key factor is dependency on federal benefits. Households that rely primarily or entirely on government programs receive higher priority under the new framework. Treasury analysts found that seniors dependent on federal benefits experience immediate hardship when costs rise, with no buffer from overtime, raises, or additional work hours. The scoring system also measures purchasing power erosion, how quickly rising prices reduce the ability to pay for essentials like housing, food, healthcare, and utilities. Seniors consistently ranked at the top of this risk category. When these factors were combined, the results were impossible to ignore. Millions of seniors moved sharply upward in the rankings, not because of politics, but because the data demanded it. That single internal change reshaped the entire payment order. The tier system explained who moved to the front. Once the Treasury scoring system was updated, the next step was reorganizing the entire payment structure. That's where the new tier system comes in. And this is where the impact on seniors becomes very clear. The tariff rebate program is now divided into 3 distinct tiers, each determining how quickly payments move through the approval process. Tier placement is not symbolic. It directly affects who gets reviewed first and who waits longer. Tier 1 represents the highest priority. Originally, this tier was designed for middle-income workers earning roughly between $30,000 and $75,000 per year. But under the revised scoring system, a new group was added: low-income seniors living primarily on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI. If your annual income is under approximately $30,000, or if your monthly Social Security payment falls below the national median, your eligibility score increases sharply. This means many seniors are now grouped alongside early recipients rather than being placed at the back of the line. Tier 2 includes households with moderate incomes, typically ranging from $40,000 to $90,000 per year. While this group was initially expected to receive early payments, some Tier 2 cases may now experience delays due to seniors moving ahead in the queue. Tier 3 is reserved for higher-income households or cases requiring additional verification. Seniors are rarely placed in this tier. This restructuring didn't just include seniors, it elevated them. Income thresholds and why fixed benefits matter. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the new priority system is how income thresholds are being applied, and why fixed benefits play such a critical role in determining eligibility. Under the updated Treasury model, income is no longer evaluated in isolation. Instead of simply asking how much someone earns in a year, the system examines how that income behaves over time. For seniors, this distinction is essential. Social Security, SSI, and SSDI payments are predictable, fixed, and largely immune to short-term economic changes. That stability, however, becomes a disadvantage during inflation. When prices for food, housing, utilities, and healthcare rise, seniors cannot offset those increases with overtime, raises, or additional employment. Treasury analysts recognize that fixed income equals fixed vulnerability. The internal guidance places strong emphasis on households earning below approximately $30,000 annually, with additional weight given to individuals receiving under roughly $1,300 per month in Social Security benefits. These thresholds were not chosen at random. They reflect national median benchmarks tied to purchasing power loss. Another critical factor is what Treasury refers to as the Benefit Stability Index. This metric evaluates how likely a household's income is to remain unchanged while expenses increase. Seniors on federal benefits consistently score at the highest risk level. As a result, many seniors who previously assumed they were borderline or ineligible now find themselves scoring significantly higher under the revised model. This is why eligibility looks different today than it did just days ago. Income didn't change, the interpretation of risk did. Automatic verification. Why most seniors won't need to apply. One of the most important details in this updated tariff rebate program is something many people may overlook. Most seniors will not need to apply at all. This is a major departure from past payment programs and a key reason why seniors are now moving through the system faster. The Treasury's updated guidance relies heavily on existing federal data. For seniors receiving Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, income records, benefit history, and identity information are already stored within government systems. That allows eligibility to be verified automatically without new forms or applications. In previous programs, individuals who filed zero income tax returns or did not file at all often experienced long delays. Under the revised process, Treasury officials are using Social Security Administration data to bypass those bottlenecks. If your primary income comes from federal benefits, your records can be confirmed in seconds. This approach is referred to internally as rapid verification routing. It prioritizes households whose financial data is already verified and stable. Seniors, particularly those with no additional income sources, rank at the top of this category. Only a small number of people will be asked to provide extra information. This typically applies to cases with outdated addresses, mismatched banking details, or incomplete identity records. For everyone else, the review happens quietly in the background. This is why tonight's update matters so much. It doesn't just move seniors higher in priority, it removes obstacles that once slowed them down. And in a system designed around speed, fewer obstacles mean faster approvals. Payment timing. Who gets approved first? Now that the tier system and automatic verification process are in place, the next question everyone is asking is simple. When will payments actually happen? While exact dates are still being finalized, the structure of the approval timeline is becoming clear. Under the updated framework, Tier 1 cases are processed first, and that includes a large number of low-income seniors. Because their income and benefit records already exist within federal systems, these cases move through verification far more quickly than others. Treasury officials are sequencing approvals based on completion status, not public announcements. That means many seniors could see their eligibility confirmed before millions of working households even enter the review queue. This is a major shift from early expectations. Tier 2 approvals will follow, but the timeline for that group has been pushed back slightly due to the rebalancing of priorities. Households with moderate incomes may still qualify, but their reviews now come after the highest risk cases are addressed. Tier 3 remains the slowest track. These cases require additional IRS verification, updated filings, or manual review. Seniors rarely fall into this category, which gives them a further timing advantage. Another key point involves status updates. Over the coming days and weeks, individuals may see alerts appear in their IRS or SSA portals. These messages could request confirmation of identity, address, or direct deposit details. Responding promptly is critical to avoid delays. The message is clear. Seniors are no longer waiting their turn. For many, the process has already begun. The lowest income seniors, a last-minute priority addition. Just when most analysts thought the eligibility structure was finalized, a last-minute change quietly reshaped the senior category once again. Hidden inside the final Treasury memo was the addition of a group that had not been mentioned in early drafts, public rumors, or even the president's initial announcement. This group includes fixed-income seniors receiving less than approximately $100 per month. According to internal guidance, these individuals were placed directly into the highest priority lane, alongside other low-income seniors already moved into Tier 1. Why does this matter? Because this group represents the most financially vulnerable segment of the population. Seniors living on less than $100 a month have almost no flexibility. Even small increases in rent, groceries, utilities, or medical costs can create immediate financial stress. New inflation data played a decisive role. When updated reports showed how sharply prices were impacting seniors at the lowest income levels, Treasury analysts flagged this group as high-impact beneficiaries. That designation triggered an automatic escalation in priority status. What makes this addition especially notable is how late it occurred. The category was added just hours before final approval, without public discussion. Officials wanted the eligibility structure fully aligned with the data before making anything public. For seniors in this income range, the implications are significant. Not only are they eligible, they may be among the first approved. This final adjustment reinforces the central theme of the update. The lower the income, the faster the review. For the most vulnerable seniors, the line just moved again in their favor. Will this payment affect Social Security or SSI benefits? One of the biggest concerns seniors have right now is whether receiving this $2,000 tariff rebate could negatively affect their existing benefits. The answer, according to Treasury and Social Security guidance, is clear: it will not. This rebate payment is not classified as income for the purposes of Social Security, SSI, or SSDI eligibility. That distinction is critical. Because the funds come from tariff revenue and are structured as a rebate rather than earned income or assistance, they do not count toward income limits used by federal benefit programs. In practical terms, this means receiving the payment will not reduce your monthly Social Security check, will not affect SSI eligibility, and will not trigger benefit recalculations. Seniors can receive the rebate without fear of losing existing support. Treasury officials anticipated this concern early in the review process. Internal guidance explicitly separates the tariff rebate from needs-based benefit calculations. This separation ensures that the very people the program is designed to help are not penalized for receiving it. Another important clarification involves asset limits. The rebate is not treated as a long-term asset under federal benefit rules. It is considered a temporary financial adjustment, giving seniors flexibility to use the funds for essentials without long-term consequences. This reassurance matters. Many seniors hesitate to accept assistance out of fear that it could create future problems. In this case, officials stress that the rebate is intended to ease financial pressure, not create new risk. For eligible seniors, the message is simple. This payment adds support. It does not take anything away. Why Congress does not control this payment? As news of the $2,000 tariff rebate spreads, many people are asking a familiar question: will Congress block this payment? Under this program, the answer is largely no, and understanding why requires looking at how the rebate is legally structured. Unlike stimulus checks passed during emergencies, this tariff rebate does not require new legislation. The payments are authorized under existing tariff collection laws, which give the Treasury Department authority to redistribute excess tariff revenue once eligibility rules are finalized. That distinction removes Congress from the approval process. In past stimulus programs, lawmakers had to debate funding, negotiate bill language, and vote on spending. That often caused delays, uncertainty, and political gridlock. This program operates differently because the funds already exist and come from tariff collections. Treasury can act administratively rather than legislatively. That doesn't mean politics disappear entirely. Members of Congress may criticize or support the program publicly, but they do not control the payment mechanism. Eligibility is determined by income data, benefit status, and Treasury scoring, not by a new bill being passed. This structure explains why the update moved so quickly. Treasury was able to revise internal guidance, adjust priority tiers, and finalize verification routes without waiting for congressional debate. For seniors, this matters deeply. It means eligibility is not tied to political negotiations or election cycles. Once your status is confirmed, the payment moves forward based on administrative processing alone. In short, this rebate is governed by existing law, existing revenue, and existing data systems, not Capitol Hill gridlock. What seniors should do right now. With eligibility rules finalized and processing underway, the most important question becomes practical. What should seniors do right now? While most of the work happens behind the scenes, there are a few key steps that can help prevent delays. First, make sure your Social Security Administration and IRS records are accurate. This includes your current mailing address, banking information for direct deposit, and identity details. Even small errors can slow verification or payment routing. Second, check your SSA and IRS online portals regularly. Over the coming days and weeks, some individuals may receive alerts requesting confirmation of information. These messages are not a cause for concern, but they do require timely responses. Ignoring them could temporarily pause your approval process. Third, be cautious about misinformation. As news spreads, false claims about applications, fees, or guaranteed approval offers are likely to appear online. Treasury officials stress that legitimate updates will come only through official government channels. There is no fee to receive this rebate. Fourth, understand your position. If you rely primarily on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, and your income falls within the lower thresholds discussed earlier, your review is likely already in progress. Finally, stay informed. Payment windows, status updates, and confirmation notices may be released in stages. Knowing what to expect reduces stress and helps you act quickly if needed. This moment isn't about rushing. It's about being ready. Seniors who stay organized and attentive will move through the system with fewer obstacles. Final timeline, expectations, and what comes next. As the tariff rebate program moves into its final processing stage, expectations around timing are becoming more defined, even if exact payment dates have not yet been publicly announced. What matters now is understanding the sequence of events and what seniors are likely to see next. Once Treasury completes its internal routing list, eligibility confirmations are transmitted to the IRS payment system. At the same time, the Social Security Administration verifies benefit-linked accounts for direct deposit accuracy. These steps happen in parallel, not sequentially, which speeds up the process for seniors already flagged as high priority. For those in Tier 1, especially low-income seniors, status updates may appear before any public announcement of payment windows. This could include confirmation messages, deposit indicators, or back-end status changes within SSA or IRS portals. These are signs that approval is moving forward. After Tier 1 processing stabilizes, Treasury will shift attention to Tier 2 cases. This is why some working households may notice a delay compared to early expectations. The system is now weighted toward vulnerability, rather than income alone. Importantly, none of these steps require further approval. The framework is locked. What remains is execution. Treasury officials have emphasized that timing differences between individuals will depend largely on data accuracy and verification speed. Seniors whose records are complete and current are positioned to move first. The takeaway is simple. The process is active, the structure is finalized, and the final phase is underway. What happens next is not political, it's procedural. Final message to seniors and closing update. As we close this update, it's important to step back and recognize what this moment represents, especially for seniors who have felt overlooked for far too long. Over the past few years, prices have climbed, savings have stretched thinner, and millions of older Americans have been forced to make difficult choices on fixed incomes. This update does not solve every problem, but it does mark a meaningful shift. For the first time in this program, seniors are no longer an afterthought. They are now recognized as a priority group based on real data, real financial pressure, and real need. The message from Treasury is clear. This rebate is designed to relieve stress, not create new hurdles. It is not income. It does not reduce benefits. It does not require new legislation. And for many seniors, it does not require an application. What happens next will unfold step by step. Status updates will appear quietly. Payments will be processed methodically. Some will move faster than others, but the system is now structured to protect those who need help the most. If you are a senior or if you care for one, stay alert, stay informed, and don't let misinformation create unnecessary fear. This process is administrative, not political. And finally, remember this: you are not invisible. Tonight's changes show that your financial reality is being taken seriously. More updates are coming, and we'll continue breaking them down clearly, carefully, and honestly.